Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead is a roguelike sandbox survival RPG, infamous for its difficulty and grueling permadeath. If you're a fan of masochism, dominatrix, and or overdosing on prescription opioids, then Cataclysm is the game for you. Cataclysm is a criminally underrated game in which you play a survivor of a world-ending event known only as the Cataclysm. Set in the near future, the story is told through a series of newspaper articles, notes left behind by previous survivors, and terminal messages saved almost exclusively in the form of encrypted subreddits. With every newspaper clipping, every blood-stained scrap of paper, and every page of r/cuckold you manage to decrypt, you reveal a little more about the truth behind the Cataclysm. The year is 2022. World superpowers Mega America and Super China are at the height of a second Cold War, engaging in a race to develop powerful super soldiers. During their research, scientists discovered portals to alternate dimensions and began to harvest and study their resources to create powerful weapons. These include mutagens, which allow people to splice their own DNA, rapidly evolving them or reducing them to a steaming pile of meat. Bionic enhancements, which allow soldiers to transcend their own humanity, and advanced AI used in everything from maid robots to automatic turrets to 3-story tall mechs hell-bent on killing anything with a heat signature. However, during their experiments, one of the scientists accidentally left the door open between dimensions, and the world gets invaded by several extra-dimensional creatures simultaneously. Some are several plant-based organisms controlled by a greater intelligence. Others are a fungal hive mind bent on the decomposition of the world. And some are simply here to analyze and collect samples of our technology. However, the most prolific and dangerous is known as the blob, a sentient blob that infects living organisms, rapidly spreading throughout their body, killing the host and forcing it to rise again soon after. Unless you're an insect, in which case you just develop a case of gigantism. The blob rapidly spreads throughout most of the population, including the higher-ups in the government. The infected enter a violent state of psychosis, their sanity lost to the blob. Men attack each other in the streets, mothers kill their own children, and Redditors start to call Big Chungus Bugs Bunny. Truly, the world has gone insane. In a last-ditch effort to control the spread, what remains of the government nukes locations of high population density to little effect. The game starts several days after the Cataclysm, where you play as a lowly survivor. Your only mission? To survive. Character creation. The character creation for Cataclysm is fucking fantastic. There are literally hundreds of starting professions. These professions are similar to classes in traditional RPGs and can increase or hinder your chances of survival as they influence your starting skills, equipment, and traits. These professions can range from useful, logical options such as a firefighter, paramedic, or police officer to completely idiotic and often hilarious choices such as a heroin addict, an urban samurai, or even the true food person. Even after the fall of civilization itself, capitalism still runs through your veins. Some may think the food person is only a mascot, but you know better. The only thing standing between this world and oblivion is you, because you are the true food person. In addition to your profession, you get special traits which can either help or hinder you. The combination of professions, traits, and skills allows you to create an endless amount of character combinations. For example, you can play a MacGyver type character, building all of your weapons and armors out of scrap. Or maybe you want to play as a mutant abomination to both God and creation itself. Or maybe, just maybe, you want to roleplay as a famous mid-2000s rapper. After all that work, you can finally play the game, and watch as your beloved character you spent over an hour meticulously crafting die in about 20 minutes. Look, I'm gonna be honest. Your first 2 or 3 dozen characters' chance of survival is about as good as Joe Rogan finally facing his rampant drug addiction. Just play random characters until you have the game figured out. Gameplay. Once you have your character, you're ready to go. But how do you play? Well, here are the controls. Now, I understand that we have some uneducated, below 105 IQ troglodytes watching, who may think that memorizing a measly 84 individual keybinds is incredibly difficult, or a complete and utter waste of time. These individuals are weaklings, not blessed with the natural intelligence, willpower, and rampant autism required to enjoy this game. But seriously, the biggest drawback of Cataclysm is the incredibly difficult controls. The game is completely free, so the control scheme is the only barrier between you and this masterpiece. If you want to succeed, you'll have to make use of your entire keyboard. Just play it, and eventually you'll have the controls dedicated to muscle memory. As mentioned previously, Cataclysm is a sandbox survival game, and it doesn't force you to do anything except survive. There's no clear path to survival, and the game doesn't hold your hand. It trusts you to make your own decisions and either succeed or fail horribly. If you manage to live long enough, you may begin to develop goals past basic survival. Go from barely scraping by to comfortably surviving to dominating your world as a near invincible god, only to run over a landmine, die instantly, and uninstall the game and swear to never play this shit again, only to reinstall the game shortly after. The truth is, I lied to you. Cataclysm is not simply a game, it's a drug. And much like my wife's boyfriend Tyreek, I keep coming back to it, no matter how bad it beats and bruises me. I could talk all day about the complexities and ridiculous amount of depth within the game. I mean, seriously, what other game has a fully functioning vitamin system? Like, your body will actually start to fail if you don't eat your Flintstones. And that's just one aspect of the game. No, instead, I would like to share a story from my time playing. The story of Plart. Based on the hit Kevin James movie, Zookeeper, Plart was a mall security officer. Following the initial chaos, Plart found himself trapped within the very mall he swore to protect. Now, Plart's several medical conditions made survival very difficult. For starters, he was morbidly obese, and as such, was incredibly slow and ran out of stamina very quickly. Additionally, he was narcoleptic and would fall asleep randomly, even during a fight. To top it all off, he was severely asthmatic and would have regular asthma attacks. Fortunately, he always carried an inhaler on his person. Plart managed to barricade himself on the roof of the mall. However, he was now trapped in a mall full of the dead. To make matters worse, there were no pharmacies within the mall, which meant Plart would need to escape before his inhaler ran out, or he would die from an asthma attack. That gave him around 1 month to clear all 4 stories of the mall and make his way outside. Now, how could a morbidly obese, asthmatic narcolept possibly hope to clear an entire mall? Well, luckily, Plart had a few advantages. You see, Plart was actually an avid Rick and Morty fan, and as such, his intellect was unmatched. Additionally, Plart listened to the Joe Rogan Experience while patrolling the mall, which made him a master of jujitsu. With that in mind, Plart made his first journey to the 3rd floor, searching for food. He was nearly bored while doing it, but Plart managed to get all of the snacks out of 2 vending machines. Due to the crippling injuries he sustained, however, Plart was forced to rest and recover for the next week. During this time, Plart had a breakthrough. A few zombies still remained on the 4th floor where he resided. While experimenting, thanks to his astonishing 102 IQ, he discovered that the zombies were unable to recognize holes in the ground and would walk into open skylights, plummeting 4 stories to the ground below in an attempt to catch Plart. Using his newfound knowledge, Plart, one by one, led zombies into the skylights on the 3rd and 2nd stories, until every zombie had fallen to their deaths. With the top 3 stories cleared, Plart now had his pick at the best weapons and the best armor the mall had to offer. With his new gear, he should have been able to easily clear the ground floor. However, Plart had made a fatal mistake. You see, in Cataclysm, even if you kill a zombie, it will rise again after a few hours, unless the body is dismembered. Now, Plart assumed that the fall would permanently kill the undead, and he would only need to fight the bottom floor's worth of zombies. Instead, Plart was greeted by the entire mall's worth of the undead. He tried to fight his way out. However, his narcolepsy made him fall asleep briefly before he woke up, swarmed, laying on the ground. Not even his jujitsu skills could get him out of this, and Bull Plart was eaten before taking a single step outside the mall. And while Plart is now long dead, his story and the lessons learned from it are still remembered to this day. And in the end, that is what Cataclysm is really about. The stories you make. The game's grueling difficulty makes for an intense atmosphere that is not easily replicated. Something as simple as a routine scavenger run could result in the end of a month-long character, which makes every encounter with danger that much more exciting. To this day, I still remember stories from my previous, now long dead characters. I could sit and tell more of my adventures in Cataclysm all day, but then this video would be an hour long. I cannot stress how much I recommend this game. If you can get past the pure autism that is the control scheme, you'll find one of the most in-depth and entertaining survival games ever made. And hey, it's completely free, so what do you have to lose? Links to everything you need down below. If you need help with the game, the people on the subreddit are typically very helpful. Most of the time. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. And make sure to tell me about your own journeys in the Cataclysm down below. More videos to come soon. These probably with even more smut. And hopefully much better audio quality. Thanks for watching.